Perhaps during no other time in American history was coded communication more important than in the battle to end slavery. As the 19th century progressed, men and women of African descent who had been enslaved by their fellow countrymen were determined to find their freedom and reclaim their human dignity. That road to freedom had its own code name, the Underground Railroad. The railroad was a sophisticated network of passageways through woods, fields, rivers, and safe houses, every step made terrifying by the fear of recapture.
Most people get caught up in the Underground Railroad from a romantic point of view. People died on the Underground Railroad. People were killed. It was a human train. It wasn't made of wood. It wasn't made of steel. It was a human train.
Secret communication was crucial to the railroad's success. Information was often passed through song. Slaves used the Bible as a source for codes, delivering critical information through spirituals. These coded spirituals conveyed every kind of hidden messages imaginable, signals for escaping, hiding, and expressing imminent danger.
The slave master could not understand how a slave can work so hard and yet still they would have time to sing and be jovial in the evening, but while they were doing the buck dance, the cakewalk, whatever, they were singing songs, so they disguised their songs as codes.
The song "Steal Away" is one of the more commonly known examples of coded spirituals.
Steal away, steal away, steal away to Jesus. Steal away, steal away home. I ain't got long to stay here. Now the slaves knew that the slave master would not understand what he was saying. They could not openly advocate that they were trying to slip away. So they knew that their fellow slave members would understand the codes that they were using when they were saying steal away. They were preparing to take off.
Steal away to Jesus, where he ain't got long to stay, for Jesus was like in heaven, and heaven was a code word for Canada, the North.
As far as the slaves trying to get the message across without the oppressor really knowing what they were saying, they used little code words by saying, "There's a great camp meeting." The slave masters then thought they were talking about their religious meetings, so they had no way of knowing that they were making connections with the Underground Railroad. And they would send the message to the other slaves by saying, "Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, children, don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting on the other side."
Slaves took advantage of every possible opportunity to escape from bondage. And when their owners deployed packs of bloodhounds to track them down, fellow slaves alerted them to the oncoming peril. One of the songs used to elude their would-be captors was the spiritual "Wade in the Water."
There were many times when they had to escape along the riverside, and the slaves would sing, "Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water."
Wade in the water, children. Wade in the water, children. God's going to trouble the water, get into the water, so the bloodhounds couldn't pick the scent.
One of those who escaped was Frederick Douglass. A former slave who rode the Underground Railroad to freedom, Douglass was greatly influenced by these spirituals. He would later write, "To those songs I trace my first glimmering conception of the dehumanizing character of slavery." Today, his papers are found in the Library of Congress's Manuscript Division.
Frederick Douglass, as a young person, said, as a young slave, when he growing up in Maryland, when he heard the old folks singing about Canaan, old Canaan, Canaan from the land, the biblical land, the Bible, in his mind it meant old Canada. It was a coded word for Canada.
Oh, see that man all dressed in red. God's gonna trouble the water. Oh, it looks like
The church was always a home, always a place in the African American community where we felt safe, where we can plot, we can plan, we can discuss whatever.
Sometimes the coded messages were not only used for running away, but sometimes they would just be calling each other to a church service. That it was time to meet together to worship on some area of the plantation. A lot of times, particularly because in the Sunday schools, slaves were often taught how to read and write, and that was illegal after the 1830s in every slave state. There was just a real fear that in any kind of gathering involving blacks, that even if freedom was not the initial reason, that freedom indeed would actually grow out of any unsupervised gathering of blacks.
It was a period of desperation, a period where people were held against their own will, a period where people died. It was American history.
From the founding of our nation to the Civil War, codes gave us the ability to selectively communicate with one another in times of crisis. But coded communication also has other meanings and applications that extend beyond conflict into everyday life. Codes are sometimes devised in a search for freedom, freedom from censorship, freedom from discovery, freedom from oppression. I'm Michael Dorn. Thanks for watching.